Hi, this is Joy Neas with Behind the Art Scene on KXVS, the voice of Stockton. And today my guest is Kandi Howe. Thank you very much for coming, Kandi.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate that.
Candy's one of my favorite people. She has coordinated the Little Free Library project. And I just wanted to give a little intro and then ask you how you got started with that. Back in, I think it was about 2010, so 7 or 8 years ago, I was with the University Neighborhood Renaissance Committee. Mm-hmm. And so one of our members, she came to our meeting and she said, "Oh, I just heard about little free libraries and we should do something like that in the University Neighborhood Renaissance Committee." So I tried to make it happen and it never worked. And then all of a sudden little free libraries started popping up and I'm going, wow, it actually happened. And Kandi is the person who made it happen. So how did you do that? How did you get going on that?
Actually, it wasn't me. It was a group of people. It was originally presented by Moses Zabian. Mm-hmm. He had approached myself and Jay Jordan. We had just finished working on another project called First 50, where we painted all the trash cans and all the parks in Stockton. And so it all started in a conversation at a coffee shop, and then we got more people involved, and it started out from there.
So when you say about the trash cans, how did that start? I mean, how did you get involved in that?
Well, probably just from Facebook. I think I started my community work painting over, actually anti-Semitic markings and words that were underneath the Calaveras Bridge near UOP. Okay. And I got paint from the city, the gray colored paint to cover it up. And so I started getting involved in things like that. And then I met Jay Jordan through Facebook. He needed paint, and I actually knew how to get some paint from the HHW that they get rid of for the kids to, in this mentoring program. One of them had an idea to paint every single trash can because when you paint it, it's a brightly colored receptacle. People are more apt to throw their trash away in it instead of litter. So we supported that idea and got engaged with every single area of the city, each council member, and made it happen.
So what group are you with? What is that? What is that?
Oh, the HHW is actually the Household Hazardous Waste Facility in San Joaquin County. And people will take their paint that, say you wanted to paint a door red or do whatever, and then all of a sudden you don't want that color anymore. You go to dispose of it at the HHW. So then some of that paint's still good, and so we were able to utilize that paint. So actually, all of these people or these homeowners in Stockton that had paint they brought to the HHW, that's the paint that ended up being free paint for us to use to beautify and improve community.
Oh, wonderful.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, where is that located?
It's out near the airport. It's out near the airport. And they have certain days where they're open, sort of like a little pantry, if you will, to pick up some stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I got to find out about that because I think Tidewater and Art Expressions, actually when Tidewater had the gallery downtown, mm-hmm.
They
did some projects with that paint. So I heard about it, but I've never been there. So.
Well, it's good if you don't know what you're going to get.
Right,
There's just a variety, and you don't know what kind of paint it's going to be. But mm-hmm. I mean, we just ended up with tons and tons to be able to execute these projects, including little free libraries.
Right. So I've been thinking a lot about that. I just made a post yesterday on Facebook, and so I've lived in Stockton for 24 years now. And before I moved here, I was just kind of wandering aimlessly. But when I found Stockton, I just fell in love with the city, and I've wanted to improve it so much, do so many things, and it just seems like there's so many roadblocks. But you were able to blast through those roadblocks. One thing that I've seen in Stockton, I mean, when we really want to do something here, it gets done. So
indeed.
Yeah, with the little free libraries, how many are there now?
Actually, we met our goal of 100. There's over 100. There's 13 that still need to be placed. We sort of suspended that for a little bit. In fact, we just did one of our placements. It was a post in the ground style, or it's about to happen. We called it our floor model because it was a lot easier to move around than, say, their original 20 or so that we started out that were old newspaper stands from the record. But we call it our crayon one, and it looks like a box of crayons. It was painted at Family Day in the park. And that is actually going to be stewarded by Rotary of Stockton at the new Heroes Park thing that they're doing. Are you familiar with that project?
No. I wanted to ask you, because I ended up getting a couple a couple of the newspaper boxes from the record.
Oh, you did?
I got them. First, they brought them to my house, and they were on my porch. And then we ended up taking them over to Rhonda Nunez's house. And I don't know, did she ever give you those
I had heard something about that, but I
boxes?
Don't know exactly what happened with those two in particular.
Because we were trying to get those painted with the university neighborhood, and so
I know the ones that Little Free Libraries that we were given. We did community painting actually on Wilson Way at a place called Harvest House is where we launched it at, and we had a whole bunch of youth from all over the city working on those projects, and that's how we started out. At least with the newspaper stands that we got.
So where is Harvest House?
Well, it's actually a different entity right now, but it was a location that they opened up to us on Wilson Way. So I mean, that's one of the greatest things about any of these projects that we've been involved in is going to all different parts of the city and all different people coming and converging in those places to make a difference in community. I mean, it's been a pretty tremendous journey, I would say, the past 3 or 4 years.
And I really appreciate you so much for that. That was like one of the most tremendous days I ever had in Stockton, was going to the Little Free Library painting event. And we were all like, I think there was there 25?
That was the final 25, and we had 25 different organizations and individuals all coming together in one space thanks to 10 Space Dev. They have been tremendous supporters of the Little Free Library Project, and we've been fortunate to be able to have that sort of support. Again, it's everybody working together to make things happen. I think when you're earnest and you do the work and put yourself into it, you can make things happen in community and bring people together.
So it was just wonderful seeing everyone in that one space, and we were all like painting through the day, and then they had lunch there, and it was such just a lovely experience. And thank you for inviting me and letting me paint. So.
That was amazing. Yeah, I think the way they came out was just. Yeah. It was beautiful. That's part of the 13 that still need to go out.
Oh, okay.
So they all pretty much have homes. Again, the Crayola one did just go out, but that one was done from before. That Heroes Park thing is really really cool thing. That's coming up in September.
Okay.
So I will let you know about it so you can go and watch it be unveiled.
Yeah, what is that?
I guess it's at, I think the name of the church is, I thought it was... it's on Kelly Drive, and I think it's the Calvary First Assembly of God. And so they built a much-needed park in an old parking lot I think there was some coverage in the record about it, with playground and this and that. So they're going to install the Little Free Library there, which is much better than being used as our floor model, because then it's out in community and in use. And they're going to have a big unveiling of it. The date's supposed to come in September.
So that's the installation of it?
That's the installation, and Rotary of Stockton, I think they're going to steward it and make sure it has books year-round.
Okay,
yeah.
And actually, because I take the bus, so I do a lot of walking around, and on my way home, there's a Little Free Library like 2 blocks from my house. So it was so nice to see. It's right on the corner of Fresno. I don't even know the street, but just around the Lever Boulevard.
That's Armitas. Yeah, she actually, Armida, her children were involved in the first 50, and we did the painting of the trash cans. And then Armida got also involved with LFL, but she was one of our first stewards in our first placements when we just placed the first 22. So.
That's right down the street from me.
And now there's painted rocks I see going in little free libraries all over.
Goodness. So have you been doing the painted rocks? Or?
No, I've not. No. I've been working on other projects that have to do with the arts or have to do with civic engagement and community.
Okay, tell us about your projects.
Oh, okay. Well, the first one, I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's Placeholder Magazine.
Yeah.
So I serve on that board, and there's a huge fundraiser coming up called Bread, which is backing resources to empower artists democratically. So it's basically supporting artists with their projects. So there's, in fact, I'm glad we're on here because August 31st is the deadline to submit an application or a proposal for a project. So any artist, it has to benefit Stockton. They will receive a $1,000 grant if they're the ones that are selected by the people who attend this fundraiser to be able to execute it. And it can't be for profit, and it has to benefit community. It has to take place here in Stockton. So there's a lot of information on Facebook about that and how to apply, and the deadline's not until August 31st. There will be 3 finalists at the actual event, and people who attend the event will place their ticket in one of the 3 projects that they think should win, and then we're able to give them $1,000 to execute that for our community.
Wow. Where are you getting that money? And the $1,000?
It's through the fundraiser itself. Yeah, Placeholder is not for profit, fiscally sponsored by Fractured Atlas, so that any contributions and things are tax deductible. As with a nonprofit, they have a fiscal sponsorship through. Mm-hmm. We have a fiscal sponsorship through Fractured Atlas.
Yeah, I actually think one of your early. So how many issues have you guys had so far?
Of applications? Issues?
Of Placeholder Magazine.
Right now, we're not in print. It was in print. It's largely online, web-based, as we do a lot of development. I mean, Placeholder, I think the reason why I got involved with it is because their overall mission is to basically create, to learn, and share.
Okay.
I mean, that's just, and it's support, there's artist, writing. I mean, it is a publication based in Stockton, but right now they're not doing there's not any print.
So I actually got one of my art pieces, a couple of my art pieces in the Placeholder.
When it was in print.
When it was in print, so it was published. They were photos that I took of historic buildings, mm-hmm. and then I have a kaleidoscope program on the computer, and I put it in and manipulated it. Mm-hmm. But they were of some of the old hotels that got torn down, and it just shows that there's still beauty that can come after the destruction.
Well, I think Placeholder does a really good job of allowing, it's community organizing, it's advocacy campaigns, it gives rise to voices that may not otherwise be heard, and so much perspective. And I think it's tremendous for artists in the community. I mean, that's why I'm excited about this project, because there's so many people here that I've just met from working throughout community that have so much to offer. We just need to create the space to be able to allow that to rise.
Exactly. I mean, the one of the best things I've ever seen the Stockton Arts Commission do, mm-hmm. I think they've done it for about 17 years now that I'm aware, are every year they give out grants.
Yep.
And to artists. And that's how we've got some of the best art experiences I've seen in the city. So it's wonderful that Placeholder is doing that. Going to give out that 1,000. Let's see what can come of it.
Yep.
So,
well, we need more, more to give rise to the collective culture of our community.
Sure.
So to reach out to as many different places as possible and provide that opportunity. I think arts here is there's a tremendous opportunity for us to shine, and I think that there's a lot of efforts going on toward that end in our community that will end up hopefully allowing that to flourish and be realized, a renaissance, if you will.
Sure. So what are the some other projects
that I'm doing? Third City Coalition.
Yes.
Third City Coalition is was founded by Jasmine Leake, and very early on when it was being formulated as an idea, we look at Stockton as the third city, with first cities being places like New York, Paris, San Francisco. Second cities would be something like Portland, Sacramento, Chicago. And third cities, particularly when you look at where we are with relation to the region, Stockton's like a third city. So we want to look at what sorts of what's comparable to other third cities. For example, like Detroit, Lexington, Baltimore would be sort of considered third cities. So I think the 4 pillars that Third City Coalition is seeking to do is number 1, cultural inclusivity, to be able to shape the narrative of Stockton and build civic engagement. The second thing is to identify and empower neighborhood advocates and be able to provide support throughout different sectors within the city. Civic engagement is a very, very important thing, because the more we get involved, the more we can be the change that we want to see in and of our community. And creating the space for civic conversations. So that's the 4 basic pillars of the work that Third City Coalition is striving to do. So that would include conversations over cocktails. Have you been to one of those?
No, I haven't.
You don't have to have a cocktail
if
you don't want to. But
I don't drink. So.
You don't have to drink. It's really at a local business,
Right.
and usually they make some specials, and it brings people to different areas, local watering holes, to discuss things about placemaking, what their opinions, what their ideas are, to start getting people to talk and express and connect in a way that's outside of their normal network.
But, I one thing I've noticed in Stockton, living here for 24 years, but it seems like so many people talk about, what's going on, what they want. And
all we do is talk.
Talk. How do we get it from talk to actual reality? One of my favorite people is Mel Corin, and he got the Stocktonian of the Year award, and everybody loves him, and he goes out and he shares all of his wonderful ideas. He goes to cities everywhere and photographs them, and we could do this and we could do that, and that's kind of what I learned. I got my master's in urban planning, so I investigate cities, and I learn. We can, these are different models for what we could have here, and that's kind of what Mel did too. But everybody, recognizes him, loves him, but I don't see all of his wonderful ideas becoming reality, and my ideas becoming reality. I had gone almost to every mayor that has been since I've been here, and I said, could we do this and that? Oh no, those are great ideas, but someone else has to do them. Well, I don't know who's going to do them if not the city. I posed a question on Facebook: what is the role of the city? I thought it was to help individuals accomplish things that were kind of really too large just for the individual, the one person, that they could step in and let's let's see how we can make this happen.
Well, I think a lot of the things that end up happening are of things. There are processes. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be an administrator with respect to an entire municipality. I think the way a lot of these things get done is by having these conversations, connecting and seeing where things can plug in. That's what I like about Third City, because a lot of people don't know where to plug in. People coming to this place, people who are currently here, where they can get engaged in a way that's meaningful, that can also do some of what you're talking about. It requires insight and support and a process from all over, but it really is about a collaboration. It is so much about a collaborative effort, and it's not any one person that can make any sort of change. It's always this huge factor of together and representation. I mean, I don't think that the city can just come in and say, okay, we will take care of this for you, or we will do this for you. I think it has to be representative and reflective of a city. That's why I cannot even imagine how difficult it must be to pull all of those things together to be able to express something out. And that's just from an administrative perspective, because I do HR and compliance, and federal and state regs and things like that. So it's interesting, though, because I can hear your frustration. And when somebody is passionate and wants to give so much, it can be frustrating that things don't move forward. But that means that maybe there's a different way to try, or something else to get involved in, to be able to realize that contribution and meaningful difference that you feel like you would like to see executed and seen and made. So when you said, when does it turn from conversation to doing? It takes patience, it takes drive, it takes participation, it takes not giving up. So,
I guess the changes that I want to see, everyone's talking about, let's say, the violence, okay? I have a list of what I think, if the city did this, then the violence would go away. So, go to the University Park and, bring the state campus there. Let's have Stockton have a California State University, so we have education that's affordable. Then, really recruit, make sure that we bring in businesses into Stockton that would have really high quality, good paying jobs. My husband has to travel 2 hours to go to work. So he spends 4 hours a day commuting. He doesn't get home till like 9 at night. I mean, he can't get involved in anything when that's happening. So we need good paying jobs, being able to, have places for people to live. Let's get this homeless thing under control, do something with the environment, like with the downtown, with the waterfront, just for the safety, get all the hyacinth stuff out of there and finish off the waterfront. There's like some blighted areas right in the middle of the waterfront where the Castaway restaurant used to be. Let's build something on that. Make it a nice park or whatever you're going to do, but finish it, and then finish the end of it down by Morelli, that whole space. You could put some housing, whatever you want, but, get it done. And
there's a lot of, there's all the things that we want done. And it's frustrating that it can't all happen like that. We would like to see that. But I think that there are things that are happening, like with respect to potential school in Stockton. And I mean, there's a lot of work being done by Reinvent and things going on. Are you plugged in with any of those things?
Yeah, so I was doing Reinvent, and that's really nice, but that's focusing on South Stockton. I do live in South Stockton. South Stockton needs attention, but it's also what I learned about from urban planning is the downtown of a city is the heart of a city.
Yeah.
And then, like, when I saw the post about, you know, the people painting rocks and everything, so I wrote something. And one of the people said, "Oh, that sounds really lovely, but I don't go downtown. I won't go downtown." So, I mean, when people cut themselves off from different areas of Stockton, they, you know, let's all get involved and let's go to the north part of Stockton, south, east, west, downtown, all of it. You know, put yourself in every situation, whether it's comfortable or not, get to know people. That's what I spend my life doing, you know. And like I coordinate the Art Splash. The Downtown Stockton Alliance, about 6 years ago, they were going to discontinue it. It was the art walk. Mm-hmm. And they said, okay, we're not doing that. And so a bunch of us artists, we got together and we said, we have to have this in our downtown, have an art walk that people can go from place to place, see art. And then, like, I just saw a comment on Facebook, "Oh, I didn't know that the Art Splash was still going on." Well, it's been going on for 6 years. You know, why aren't you involved, and why don't you know about it? People need to be aware and involved. And
it takes time to build engagement and investment in a place. And a lot of the projects with which I'm involved do tend to bring, and that's one thing that I liked about conversation over cocktails, is the more faces you see that are not familiar, that's how you know you're reaching people. And it takes time, and it takes, you have to build momentum. And when you consistently work in a space to continue to try to flourish and push those things forward, eventually, you know, it does. It morphs into something else, and it just keeps creating. And I mean, look at all of the amazing things that are going on in this place that we both know about, because I've seen you at half of the events in the places we've been, and they just start to overlap and come together in a way that blankets the city in a way. And it's starting to spread out. It is gaining momentum, but frustration is going to be one of the first things that gets in the way of progress sometimes, because then we get so focused on what we don't have or what we're frustrated about that we don't look at what we do have, and it stops us from going further to see what is here. There's lots of people I know that don't want to go downtown that I'm friends with on Facebook, and I can't imagine what they're freaking out about. And then you see some other things that go on, and I see a different way. But eventually, you know, more people will start to see or know, and it just starts to expand, and that flow ends up reaching more people to want to go to different places in Stockton. Somebody told me something the other day. I took a little break from community work for a couple of months to handle a personal issue, to attend to some family matters. And this other person I was talking to, she said, "You know, I look around Stockton and it looks a lot worse than I thought it looked like when I was involved in community." And I had kind of noticed some of those same things when I took a break. So the more, and it's so interesting because you realize that the more you get involved in your community and get engaged, it changes your view and your perception, and then it starts to expand the vision even more, and you start to look at a place differently. So the more we get people involved in their community, the more they'll look at it in a different way, I think, which will probably, you know, you're not going to get everybody saying they want to go downtown, but it does change perception, and it does reach people, and it gets rid of some of that frustration that you're talking about for why somebody hasn't heard about it. So getting involved in projects, for example, like Third City or Placeholder, that reaches people and brings people in a space for them to be able to share their vision, their opinion, their gifts, their talents, what they have to offer. That's part of the collective culture, giving rise to the collective culture of Stockton.
Because what I was thinking was, you know, when the Art Splash was going on this last Friday, there was all these other tremendous events happening, but they weren't connected, okay, to the Art Splash. So we had Channel Brew. They were having a lovely art show and music and everything. We had the Cast Iron. They were having music. Mm-hmm. And then we had an event up at the Sycamore. So, I mean, people could say, go from the Sycamore, go from Channel Brew, go from Cast Iron, and come over to the Art Splash.
And people do. I've done that actually when there's been, well, Channel wasn't open yet and Cast Iron wasn't open yet when I went to that Art Splash. But people are doing, and like Deliberation Room. I mean, people are definitely doing their downtown space hopping.
They seem to just kind of stick with one place, though, don't you think?
Not from what I've heard.
Okay.
And I haven't been out that much because, like I said, I was tending to family matters. But I get texts from friends like literally saying, you should come with us. We're going here, 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 here. And it's happening. Just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. Maybe go out, check it out. You were probably stuck at the Art Splash, so you maybe not, or, stayed there. So you weren't really, did you go to Cast Iron? Did you go to Channel and you did the circuit?
I went to Cast Iron and Channel. So.
Yeah, those are two amazing additions to downtown. It's really heartening to see that and see how much is really going on downtown. It's tremendous. When you talk about that being the core, it's happening.
And I could not imagine. To me, that's the best part of Stockton. If we didn't have downtown, I probably wouldn't feel the same way about Stockton. I mean, the history that's down there, the beautiful waterfront, the culture, the art. That's where I want to be.
Did you go on any of the Jane's Walks, the Third City Coalition?
No, I didn't.
And that's when I learned about the history of these buildings and some things that was beyond what I would learn from my grandparents. I mean, my grandparents, I made my grandma a sandwich once. And she said, this is so good, it tastes like it's from downtown. And I had no idea what that meant. I was like, is that a good thing? Because downtown was the place with all of the best restaurants. It's the place everybody went. And I feel like, that's what we're moving back towards again after having it be, we're reinvigorating it. It's a renaissance down there. I think it's tremendous. I really saw a lot of that vision and that light from Tim Egan that helped me see so many things along with, working in other parts of the community. And I have a lot of faith and belief that downtown's going to be something pretty spectacular.
So how you've lived here all your life? Or?
Yes, I have. Okay. I was born and raised here. Okay. Went to high school here. Went away briefly for school. My family's all here. So are my sister. She's in Lexington, Kentucky. And I went through that same thing that you did when you're looking at a city in a different way than you ever have before once you start learning about things to do with placemaking and urban planning and positioning. And it's interesting because that's a third city too, and I didn't realize it until I was there.
Because I guess I've known about Stockton ever since we moved here, and I got involved with the Mexican Heritage Center. Mm-hmm. They've been in downtown for 20 years. Mm-hmm. This is their 20th anniversary. So I've been involved with them, and first they were on Main Street where the Little Manila Center is now. That was their original location. And we used to have all kind of events, and, that's why it wasn't scary for me that, hundreds of people would converge on the Mexican Heritage Center and have a beautiful event for Day of the Dead or for Christmas, Navidad in Avel. And, getting to know all those people and then working with the Downtown Stockton Alliance and all the different arts events that I used to coordinate for the first night, Stockton. And we would use all these different spaces in downtown. So I learned all about the history of these buildings, got to go inside of the buildings, and they were used for arts purposes. Mm-hmm. And so I've been doing that for, 20 years. So one of the best compliments I ever got was from Matt Amen.
Matty Amen. He's a fantastic person.
And so I was talking to him, and he says, it sounds like, so all the 20-somethings or whatever, all the younger people, they're finally like catching up to what I've been doing for 20 years. So.
Well, and you can be engaged. Everybody can be engaged. That's another funny thing. This is actually one specific thing Jasmine told me about Third City, and that is that whether you're young or young at heart and mind and spirit, whether it's creativity, there's all different ages. We're so diverse. So everybody has something to contribute and lend. And the more that you create a space for all of those voices and those perspectives, that is what is meant by the collective culture of our community. You have to create the spaces for that. So, and there's something big coming up downtown, which is another project I'm involved with, Pride. Pride is happening, and there's going to be a march. Did you see that?
No.
Okay, I have something for you then. It is a diversity march, which March for Equality.
There we go.
Yep. Oh, I don't even know. I didn't realize we were there. I don't know how this works.
Okay. How do I
Somewhere?
do this?
I don't know.
There we are, March for Equality. Yay, there we are.
So that's going to be on August 26th from 10 to 11, starting at the Pride Center, which is on Sutter Street. And then there will also be Pride that day, and I think particularly given some of the recent goings-ons, it's more important than ever to embrace each other in our community and the diversity, and bring people together as one united.
Yeah, I love all the festivals. We just had the Obon Festival. That's my favorite. And then just this past weekend, we had the Barrio Fiesta for Filipino.
Stockton is beautifully diverse, and that's one of the most amazing things that I love about this place. I realize I love places with a tremendous amount of diversity, because it just makes the world that much richer and beautiful.
So when I was growing up, I grew up in Richmond, and I wasn't around all that diversity. But coming here, it really takes the arts. I mean, they have all the festivals and the parades, and just like showcasing the diversity
and culture,
all the culture. So.
Yeah.
So what have any other things coming up? Or?
Well, the biggest thing is probably, the soonest thing is going to be Pride, which I'm really, remember Pride used to be at Oak Grove Regional Park, and they moved it downtown. So last year was the first time, the first go, and I'm glad that that's going to be the new home. To support downtown at Weber Point Event Center. Yeah. In fact, the Equality Walk is from 10 to 11, and then the Pride Festival's from, I think it's 11 to 11 until evening. So, I thought that was something good to support. It's interesting that everything seems to revolve around downtown. I mean, most of the projects I'm involved with seem to fan out from there.
That's where
Stockton.
That's where it's at, people. So if you want to live Stockton, go downtown, please. Okay. I wanted to ask you. I brought a little blast from the past here. I can get it out. Little brick. Okay. Tell me about that.
The red button. This is the Bobby Laird red button. This was I met with artist Bob Laird, and he gave me this little container filled with red buttons. And he told me, because of all of the different things that I was involved with in community, that anybody that I came across that lends support and tries to give rise to community and get engaged that makes a difference in our community, I should give a red button to them. And that's why I gave you one. And I still have plenty of little red buttons left. It's there in my trunk. Sometimes I have them with me, sometimes not. So it just depends on how that goes.
So Kandi and I, we were at Janet Lee Plaza, and she gave me a red button. Yes, there we are. Okay. So is the Little Free Library project, is it still going on if people want to get involved? Or?
It is. There's been a lot of everybody. It's really a community, darling, and it's been a tremendous blessing to be able to work on that project, particularly since we started placing them in the areas with the highest need, East Stockton, South Stockton, and then as we transitioned, there's pockets throughout Stockton, and in fact, we've got one that's getting ready to go into over by Mabel Barron, which is west of I-5, north of Ben Holt, but we started in the areas with highest need first, and now we're actually at a point where we can put them in all different places and pockets and throughout community to be able to serve. So people, of course, can still get involved. There's still, we do have a couple, if there's interest in stewarding, I think there's 2 that are not spoken for at this point, that are freestanding. We have different models, as you know. We had our newspaper stand model. Then we had what we called the Cadillac Deluxe model that were all constructed by Lincoln High School Construction and Engineering Academy. In fact, they did 2 rounds of that for us. And this last 25 that you were there on that day, we painted them in December. The Philomathean Club just got one. There's one over at Commodore School. Kelly's Angels, which is another small nonprofit project. There's been a lot of different organizations that have stepped forward to steward. So, yeah, you can just contact us on our Facebook page or reach out to me or any one of the members of the Little Free Library team. We've taken a little bit of a lull because we've gone through handling those, and so we do have to do some distribution, but 10 of them are spoken for. But I think we might have 2. And I do know that we have 1 that could go post and ground that is not spoken for. So I think there's actually 3.
So Wendy Maxwell, how did she get one? And she has one in her front yard?
That's their own.
So she made it? And
they commissioned that one on their own and had it made. I mean, not every Little Free Library is a Little Free Library that was placed through the initiative that Little Free Library Stockton Association worked on. There were plenty that had Lisa Cunningham. The Cunninghams had theirs before we even started, doing this. And there's one at, I think, St. Anne's Church. Sometimes we get contacted and it's like, why are there no books in this Little Free Library? What about this one at this location? And I'm like, that's not our Little Free Library, but I can hop in the car and drop some books off in it. So, I mean, really, it's to the stewards. The Little Free Libraries belong to community. We just assisted to place them there. The stewards are the ones who check it. The one at Geneva's is completely taken care of by people who come by and walk through. And I've, even though it has formal stewards, but really they were a gift to community to be cared for and stewarded by the community at large. So.
And so it's really great to see how it's spread, the right place. Have you been to the right place?
I have indeed, and I saw Paula's.
So she's getting ready to get that one painted for
with the giant mailbox, and then somebody made the base, and yes, it's amazing to see that. In fact, that probably is that's another organization that I support, and Paula does a lot of amazing work. And I think it's really cool that you can make books, and then here we are talking about Little Free Libraries.
There we go.
Put some books in there.
So I wanted to talk to you. I think we had actually attended. I have to go through my pictures again, but we attended a art workshop together. One of Nancy Buckingham's.
Who ended up painting one of the Little Free Libraries for us separately in a separate event. I brought my grandmother there to do a painting class at Art Expressions.
So you really enjoy creating your own art. Can you talk about that? Or
I was fortunate enough to have a little bit of time with Erin Elizabeth. who she's just phenomenal and amazing. I did a little one-on-one art therapy session, if you will, and it was very liberating. And I spent a lot of time painting in February and March and April. In fact, I think I did 13 or 14 paintings. Then I took a little break. I thought I was going to start again last week, but that's not happening yet. But I think it's definitely helpful for me, a way to release and express myself. I think it's been very, very helpful. I think supporting other people's artists, from the 1850 Collective to Art Expressions, to San Joaquin Art Expressions, you name the artists here. There's so many. There's so much talent here. It's tremendous. The art I do is just more for me, I think, and just as an expression. But I realized with 13 paintings, I have enough to maybe do a show.
Yes, you do. I invite you to the Art Splash if you'd like to have your own space.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I hadn't given that a consideration.
So we have one in September 8th and October 13th.
Outstanding.
So pick your day.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the invite.
And then you can see Kandi Howe's artwork. Yes. That's one thing I really like about the Art Splash, that it's open. We can have any venue who would like to participate. We're always looking for new venues, and any artist. And it's free to everyone. There's no fees, and it's all downtown. And it's a way for the public to just get to know people. And
and I will be sure to pass that word on to a lot of artists and musicians and performer types I know.
So I just would love to get involved. I had a meeting with Jasmine Leak about Third City Coalition, and I've met with all the different groups, but just to get them more involved, that we can all kind of do some things together.
Agreed. Joining together, and that the strength and power of uniting together and collaboration is really what makes things happen. Makes the teamwork is the dream work.
There we are.
Everybody being able to work together.
So, what I was wondering, when you have the conversations over cocktails, does anyone from the city come? Some of the council people, mayor? Somebody?
No, it's really just all different people. You meet so many different people that you would not normally meet. At least I have. From what I've observed, I wasn't able to go to a few of them, but they're going to be resuming and coming up going forward, both those and the Jane's Walk. So I think you should talk to Jasmine about that, particularly with some of the information and knowledge that you have on the history of things. But it's really about the people and asking a question to try to break the ice a little bit and get somebody thinking about space, because we're in it all the time, but people don't necessarily really think about what it is that they want or what they're looking for or looking at. So that's sort of the format for conversation over cocktails.
So, after everybody's thought about it, what do they...
It flourishes, it grows, that information,
But do they have any next
insight.
steps on, what we can do? Like, you have this great idea, how can we make that happen?
Yeah, and people do follow up and ask for that sort of information, but that's part of what Third Study is looking at, receiving that feedback and that information from people. That's how you're able to put forth those things and have your ideas be heard. So I would say that a lot of the ideas that you were talking about that you have, bring them to conversation over cocktails. Engage and see what that helps along with everybody else's to give rise to.
And they were also doing a film thing. What is it? Who We Are, or the Third City Coalition. They were interviewing people and film, taping them.
Yes, there was. Third City Coalition did start off with podcasts,
right?
And there was, as some of the people who were initially involved with it, like Lang Tao, Jasmine, as Sarah Washington, as people have gone on their travels, and particularly to a place that might be a third city, there's a lot of connections that are able to be made there to share information about place and perspective, where hopefully at some point we'll all be able to provide each other support in what some of our needs are, even though they're obviously all very individual, but where there's similarities and where we can exchange information and ideas on the challenges that we face as a third city.
Mm-hmm. So Sarah Washington, she was, wasn't she taping people, like residents, their
Yes.
stories, or what are they doing with that?
You know, as a board member, I'm not really involved in that. I know about some of the projects, but there's definitely a lot more to come from Third City Coalition. It's been interesting because one of the things that you run into with all of these projects is everybody's so busy. Like, it's just intensive, and yet you still find time. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to in community anyway. Everybody has all of these different things that pull at their attention, whether it's children, whether it's school, whether it's work, whether it's family, whether it's, being involved in community and making a difference is really about priorities and just carving out a little bit of time to give, to help create the space where you're choosing to be or where you live and want to be. I think that that's what we're all trying to do, but it can't always be the same people doing all the things. It needs to, the more people we reach, that's why I'm talking about running to all these faces. You want to see faces you have not seen before. Mm-hmm. You don't want to see familiar faces. You want to see people who are not familiar faces, because then you know that you're reaching people throughout community and engaging them.
So why do you feel that you got involved in all this? Just to make Stockton better, to make your home better, or what drives you?
I see the good here. My life is about service. I want to be able to give back. I want to be able to make a difference in the world, and it starts with where you are. It starts locally. It starts in your community, and it matters. There's so many amazing people here. I look around the city and everybody's just, there's so much beauty and in the trees and the people and the space that I think it matters. And this place has a lot of heart. And I think it's really, really important that we find a way to let that heart shine.
Well, I think that's what you do best, Kandi. You are an inspiration. We need more people like Kandi Howe, believe me. Each and every one of us needs to find some way to get involved, to add something to our community, and help the people, the leaders, take some of the pressure off of us, but we can all really work together and make something wonderful. So.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being my guest.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate that. And for all that you do for community.
Thank you. So next week we'll have Heather Rule. She's a playwright in Stockton, and she just one of her plays was adapted, The Three Little Pigs, and it was at the Be a Star Theater at Delta College, and she'll be talking about the work that she does. So see you next week.